All right, welcome to the Daily Market Recap for Wednesday, October 8th. In today's video, I'll be going over the action of the indexes, the liquid leaders, industry ETFs, then end the video with long and short setups going into tomorrow, like I do with every daily recap. So if you guys enjoyed the video, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. And if you want my market takes throughout the trading day, along with the live stream at the open and any trades that I personally take, you could sign up for the Market Pulse Discord using the link in the comment section. I'm going to try to keep this video a little bit shorter because we got the Cubs game going on right now. It's the first inning, but we'll still hit all the major points. Starting with the indexes, NASDAQ, new all-time high. Yesterday, we had some weakness, came down into the support gap, into the 5-day moving average, bounced exactly where we needed to at the support gap low, followed it up with a gap up, open on the low, close on the high. Another extremely strong day in the market, up 1.15%. S&P 500, similar gap up, reclaiming the 5-day moving average, close at a new all-time high. Very bullish there. IWO, this is the growth stocks of the Russell 2000. Shakeout yesterday under the 10-day moving average in the support gap. Similar, slight unfilled gap up today. Did close at a new closing high for the year, not all time. We still have some lingering price over 2021 back in February, but hopefully we'll get there shortly. And then ARKK, another kind of ETF I use to measure whether this is a risk on or a risk off market, depending on if it's over the 20-day moving average, is acting phenomenally. Little pullback in the 5-day moving average and support gap yesterday, gapped up, pulled back into that same area, followed through the upside, closed at the high of the day. Just more extremely strong action in the market. And then IBIT as a way to track Bitcoin, kind of an inside day over the 5-day moving average. Strong action after yesterday's little shakeout after making new highs on October 6th. Getting into the leaders list, I did add AMD. This had a massive gap up on, what was that, on Monday with the news of the partnership with, what is it, OpenAI. Ended the day up 23%, but closed near the low of the day. Instead of following through the downside, it followed through with a gap up, strong close yesterday, and then just massive accumulation today, up another 11.3%, closing at the all-time high. I did kick out Google, and this just shows you how strong of a market that we're in. Google is above the 20-day moving average. It just came in to test the 20-day for the first time after making new highs. Just responded well at that area. It's not doing anything wrong. We're just in one of the strongest markets that I've been around for. So good market feedback, adding AMD instead of Google. Rocket Lab, I did take a trim into strength today on this position. About, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days up, straight up in a row. Really awesome action after the little squat on October 1st, then follow through on October 2nd. Have this big gap up, so pull back into that area, into the 5-day moving average as it catches up. Wouldn't be a bad spot to get support at. Up 6.1% today. Today is a day that ends in Y, which means KTOS is up just about 2%. Just continues to ride over that 5-day moving average, frozen rope higher. Very clean signs of accumulation here. Robinhood up 4.1%. Yesterday shook out the 5-day moving average. We responded with strong price action, taking out yesterday's high, closed right near the high of the day. Nice action there. NBIS shook out to the 10-day, the support gap yesterday. No gap up today, but inside candle. We'll keep an eye for that same support gap area, or if we do need to pull back even further, the 20-day moving average is now starting to catch up with this lower support gap around 110. That would be a spot that I'd be interested in playing. BE, really tight price action while volume is declining right at all-time highs. I don't usually like when stocks stall right after making all-time highs. But in the market that we're in, with energy stocks continuing to break to the upside, it kind of feels like this is a name that's ripe for a move higher. It's on the long watch list, so we'll cover it in more detail. But I also wouldn't be too surprised if we do get like a gap down and then a sell-off. That would just be feedback that, hey, one of the leaders of the stock or one of the leaders of the market stalled at highs and is starting to rotate down. We could take that as maybe momentum is starting to weaken a little bit. If we break to the upside, just more evidence that we are in a strong market. Speaking of evidence that we're in a strong market, Tesla with the undercut and reclaim of a higher support gap after doing the same on October 3rd on Friday. Closed back over the 10-day moving average. Really good action here. Got extended in the short term and had a little sell the news event for 2 days. Bounced, put in a lower high. Just consolidating. I don't think it's doing anything wrong here. Alibaba, first test the 10-day moving average, undercut and reclaim that. Closed basically flat on the day. Good action there. And then LEU, inside day on lower volume than yesterday, down 1.4%, but still just riding over that 5-day EMA. Very strong action. Getting into the industry ETFs, we'll sort this by price percent change and just pick a couple to go over. I actually did add a new industry ETF, ARKG. We were talking about this in the Market Pulse Discord, trying to find the next theme that we were getting money rotated into. And we came up with this genomics theme. I keep pronouncing that incorrectly. Up 7% today, really solid price action on massive volume. This is a theme that I'm not super familiar with, so I like this part in deep view where I could just click on the holdings button here and see all of the stocks in that ETF. We could sort this by price percent change, or sorry, percent of the holdings. TEM made a new all-time high today, up 11.1%. Nice little pullback, higher low support gap test, wedge pop on October 1st, off to the races. CRISPR, this was on the watch list coming into the day. Nice little gap up and break to the upside. TWST, still under the 200-day moving average, but I'm going to spend some time today after the Cubs game looking through the holdings of ARKG and making sure that I understand that theme a little bit more because it does feel like we're getting rotation into healthcare, into biotech, and into genomics right now. So not something that I want to ignore. XME, metal and mining, new all-time high with a strong gap up and close. Blockchain ETF, new all-time high. Gold miners ETF, new all-time closing high. Semiconductors, really great action after yesterday's sell-off. Little undercut of yesterday's low, closed right at the high of the day, up 2.7%. Cybersecurity, new all-time high. Yesterday, we shook out to the 20-day moving average and the support gap, followed by a unfilled gap up, opened on the low, closed near the high. IYZ, new all-time highs. Biotech, up another 1.7%, 52-week highs. FDN, nice recovery of the key moving averages. Software name undercut the 20-day EMA and the support gap, followed by a gap up, open on the low, close on the high, back over the 5 and the 10-day moving averages. Great little flag building out right here. And then solar stocks. Lots of these names are catching my eye at this point. Really tight price action over the 5-day moving average. Little shake yesterday, followed by a gap up, and extremely tight price action today. We'll get to some of the solar stocks in the long setups, but it's definitely a theme that I want to be focused on. We still have some weakness. XRT, another close under the 50-day moving average. Was hoping the retail theme could recapture the 50-day on the market strength today. Home builders did undercut a support gap and then closed flat on the day. Hopefully that is the low. Otherwise, not ideal action here. Nuclear theme, nuclear and uranium, really tight price action over the 5-day moving average. On a decline in volume, this looks good for higher. And then XLF continues to bounce on the support gap lower and get rejected at the resistance gap higher. Which direction this actually breaks will give us really good feedback for the rest of the market. Financials has just been kind of a sloppy mess since it made highs on August 29th. So about a month of just sideways chop. Is this sideways chop that resolves higher or lower? We'll check in each day to find out. Then another theme that continues to catch my eye, a lot of like thinner traded names, but the cannabis ETF, MSOS, down 1.5% today, but on extremely light volume, under a resistance gap above the 5-day moving average. One of the stocks, Tilray, reports earnings tomorrow before the market opens. It recently had a 60% move on September 29th, pulled into the 10-day moving average, bounced exactly there, and then higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows. We'll see how they report tomorrow. That will be a stock on my watch list, but it's hard to game plan for it until you actually see the price action tomorrow. But that cannabis theme in the kind of like meme market that we're in right now, it wouldn't surprise me that we'd see some money rotate into that group. Getting into the long setups, we'll sort this by dollar volume, so most liquid to least liquid. First up is NVIDIA. Had a little test of the 10-day moving average, kind of back-to-back days, followed by a gap up today and strong close. This, I would just look for another pullback into the gap zone, into the 10-day moving average at 150.20 as the potential entry. Stop would be under Monday's low. Palantir, ugly close on Friday, stopped me out of my position, then gapped up, reclaimed the 20-day moving average, tried to follow through to the upside yesterday and kind of squatted a bit. And then an inside day on very light volume. From contraction will come expansion. And given the software ETF shakeout and reclaim, given Palantir's ugly close gap up, I am guessing that this is going to break to the upside. So through today's high, stop at yesterday's low would be the trade here. Alibaba probably was viable today on the recapture of the 10-day moving average. I've got alerts at the low from today. Just want to see an undercut of the lows of like this structure and then a reclaim of that low as the entry. Then I could keep my stop at the 20-day EMA on that. OKLO, we talked about NLR looking like it was really getting tight above the 5-day moving average. OKLO doing the exact same thing. Had this gap down into the 10-day moving average, followed by some strength. Now pulling back on declining volume into the 5-day. 10-day is catching up to the support gap. Just looking for an undercut and reclaim of that area at 127.50 as the entry. Stop, I would just keep it under the 10-day, right around like 124. BE already hinted at this on the leaders list. From this contraction, I'm pretty confident that we're going to get an expansion bar. Whether we expand to the upside or the downside, that's going to tell us what the market is probably going to do next. I am willing to play it as a performance booster to the upside, meaning I'll take it with normal size, but I'll look to sell a piece into strength and get my stop to break even as quickly as possible. On a name that has gone from 15 up to 94, it would be a shame that this would break down before hitting 100. I kind of doubt that that happens given how strong the market is. So through today's high would be the buy spot. Today's low would be the stop. But if we do get follow through to the upside, I would get my stop to break even as quickly as possible. MP, kind of reminded me of the Rocket Lab setup. So let's take a look at that really quick. Rocket Lab tests the 50-day, tests the 50-day, tests the 50-day, then gets tight for a couple days. Then very nice price action to the upside. MP tests the 50-day, rallies, tests the 50-day, rallies, pulls in. A couple days that gets really tight on the 50-day would make this a much better setup. But I wouldn't be shocked if we get a gap up tomorrow that would be buyable versus today's low and the 50-day moving average. That's the way that tomorrow's setup would play. But if we can get like another weekday and then like a tight day on Friday, this would be kind of an A plus setup on Monday. SMR, we talked about the nuclear stocks. Obviously, LEU, I think, is the leader. OKLO, secondary name. CCJ acting well. SMR, definitely the laggard of the group, but in very strong markets, lagging stocks, they don't break to the downside. They're the last stock in that group to get rotation. And SMR has just been building higher lows. So higher low August 20th, higher low September 2nd, higher low, higher low. And now we had an ugly close back under the 5, the 10, the 20, and the 50-day moving averages. One of my favorite setups is the ugly close followed by the unfilled gap up. Recent example of that was HIMS, where we had the ugly close under the 5, the 10, the 20-day on Friday, last Friday, followed by a gap up. That was viable, and now we're right back to those highs. SMR, it's in the right group. It's a lagging stock in that group, but it's building higher lows. So unless the market rolls over tomorrow, which it could, looking for a gap up, opening range break to buy versus today's low as the entry. Next, we have LAC. This is one of the like government socialism stocks where we're just taking positions in a bunch of companies, which is phenomenal for the price action. Up 95% one day, followed through up 22%, up another 31% last, what was this, Friday? And then just three very low volume pullback into the 5-day moving average. Couple different ways to play this. Undercut and reclaim of today's low would be viable versus whatever the shakeout low is tomorrow. Otherwise, a gap up opening range break versus today's low. These are the type of stocks in this market that can really rip higher. And if you study like these really high ADR names, pullbacks to the 5-day moving average on declining volume is not usually a bearish sign. It's just a sign of consolidation, some profit taking being had. We see an uppercut and failure of the resistance gap up here, which just kind of shows you that profit taking needed to be done. And maybe just one more shakeout and a reclaim, and we'll be good to go here. Next, we have XPEV. I did buy this today. Let's go to a weekly chart on this. The Chinese equity stocks is a theme that I've been banging the table on for a while now. And this is a massive, massive weekly base. Has been building kind of under the IPO lows for a while now, popped back over the IPO lows, and looks ready to take off at this point. I bought today just through kind of like the daily high, looking for a little weakness at the open, then a reclaim of today's closing price, like a red to green move as the buy spot. Keep the stop under yesterday's low, the 10-day moving average. Do we need one more shakeout before this goes? Maybe, but with a base this big in a theme like Chinese equities just breaking out of a 3.5 year base, these are the types of names that can move your portfolio. Next, we get into some solar stocks that I hinted at earlier. First is NXT, really tight price action here. Through today's high is buyable. Otherwise, the undercut of the 10-day moving average and support gap would be a little bit better entry in my eyes. SEDG, kind of a similar setup, pulling back into the 20-day moving average, shook out the lows here, then closed well. Through today's high, buyable versus today's low. And one thing that I want to point out with the solar stocks, they haven't been trading super cleanly because one of the solar stocks, ENPH, has still been in a major downtrend, but I think we might be starting to build out that stage one base. We undercut the 50-day moving average after the big rally off the lows. Today potentially looks like a higher low on the 50-day into that support gap. If this follows through to the downside and we actually have higher lows on the 50 building out, I think solar stocks as a group start to become a lot easier to trade. There'll be less wiki and they'll get some more attention. And in a market where with AI being kind of so dominant and we need absolutely a ton of energy to power everything, solar stocks is kind of a slept on group, even though solar, like the solar ETF, TAN, has been leading since the bottom in April. And finally, TMQ. This is gapping up overnight. This is another one of the companies that the government's taking control of or taking a position in. Gap up, retest of the HVC, the high volume close, right around that 650 area would be buyable versus yesterday's low. Then finally, we can get to the short setups. Again, let's sort this by dollar volume. First one, AMZN, Amazon, rallied into the resistance gap, failed there, lower high, lost the 50-day. Now we rallied up into that area today while the market's strong. Looking for an uppercut and failure of September 23rd's high as the entry. Stop would be, I would just use like a 3% stop on that. Not so much like a main focus of mine, but if some of these mega cap stocks that are showing weakness actually like put in another lower high and rotate down, that would just be market feedback for me, that the market might need time to rest. Meta, kind of the same story. Am I actually going to trade this on the short side? Probably not, but I want to see a rally up to the resistance gap into the declining 20-day EMA. And if price uppercuts and fails at that level, that would be the short spot. Keep your stop at 2 or 3%. But again, do we actually get over this and start to trend higher, or is this a lower high kind of portion of the downtrend? MSTR, huge weakness yesterday while Bitcoin barely came off its all-time highs. This was down 8.7% back through the 50, the 200-day, the 5, the 10, the 20, just extreme weakness, something that really is starting to feel like it's entering its stage 4 downtrend. Today, perfect undercut and reclaim of the support gap, which makes me think that this is going to bounce. Looking for a rally into that 50-day, into that 200-day moving average, right around 350 as the entry. Stop would be above the gap zone high, right around 360 there. Costco, we've talked about how weak the average retailer is. This has been in a stage two uptrend, then a stage three top phase. Looks like it's about to break into the stage four decline under a declining 200-day, declining 50-day, 20, 10, 5, all in the wrong order if you're long, right order if you're short. And then consolidating right at the 5-day moving average, just looking for a break through today's low, stop at yesterday's high above the 5-day for that trade. Carvana, I kept the support gap here because I wanted to show you that after 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 touches of the 50-day moving average, we have now closed below it, and we've closed below a support gap. I don't want to short this on weakness. I want to see a rally back up to the 10 and the 20-day EMAs, right around that 375 spot to get short, and then keep your stop. Prob- Probably just use a 3 or 4% stop. That's kind of my sweet spot when taking these trades. I still like this could have a gap up, and then this would just be another higher low as it grinds higher. That's part of the character of the stock. What would be out of character for this stock is if it gaps down and we have an unfilled gap down, the first of this entire uptrend. That would be a big warning sign for Carvana. Roblox really hasn't done anything since the earnings gap up on July 30th. Closed above it just 2 days before two gap downs and then a third gap down under the 50-day moving average. We've rallied back up into that area, looking for an uppercut and failure of the 20-day EMA right around 130, 131 as the entry, stop above the resistance gap high at 134. Carnival Cruise Lines, again, kind of the average American starting to tighten up. Um, we're seeing a lot of those kind of stocks roll over. Royal Caribbean, RCL, also recently made new highs, really starting to show some weakness under declining 5, 10, 20, and 50-day moving averages. With CCL, today we uppercut and failed at the 10-day and that resistance gap. Follow through to the downside is shortable versus today's high. And then last, we have AFRM. This one, I don't know if I'm understanding the connection correctly with the economy. Like, if more people can't use normal credit cards to just like buy things and they're going to buy now, pay later, does that help AFRM? Or if the average credit score of everyone in America is dropping so drastically with the economy, does that hurt AFRM? Price wise, this is showing relative weakness. The 50 days still increasing though, so maybe this is just consolidation under the 50-day, then we pop above this. Either way, I'm kind of just using this as a feedback trade. I probably won't take it personally, but through today's low would be the entry, stop at today's high. So that's going to be the daily market recap for Wednesday, October 8th. If you guys enjoyed the video, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. And if you want my market takes throughout the trading day, along with the live stream at the open and any trades that I personally take, you can sign up for the Market Pulse Discord using the link in the comment section. Have a great night, and I'll see you guys in tomorrow's video. And go Cubs.